Hello, welcome. My name is Nanai the Tutor. Today we are doing a walkthrough of the Edexcel Paper 1 exam paper. We're going to do a past exam paper question. I am going to walk you through the timings for each question as well as the skills that you need to display for each question. It's really, really important as we approach the mock exams to be clear on what you're expected to do in your English language paper. Some people think you cannot revise for English language. You absolutely can. And this video will be excellent to add to your revision. So the past paper that we are looking at today is the November 2022 Edexcel Paper 1 question paper. This is available to download online from the Edexcel website. So you can get that ready and join this walkthrough with me. I will have the text displayed on the screen as well as the questions, so you'll be able to follow along. So this is what the paper looks like. And it says English language, paper 1, fiction and imaginative writing. So the text that you will be given is a text that you've never seen before in school. There might be a chance that you may have read the book that the extract is taken from. However, it is unlikely that you would have read it. So be mentally prepared that you will not have seen this text before. This is because this paper is assessing your skills, meaning that the skills that you have in analyzing language structure, in evaluation, you should be able to apply them to any text. So today we're going to be looking at just the reading section, section A. The paper is in 2 sections. The second section is the imaginative writing section where you have to write a story. We are not focusing on that today. So the paper has 4 questions for section A. Okay, as I said, we are focusing on section A today. And there are 4 questions. Today we're doing 3 questions. And the first thing that you want to do when you open your exam paper is to have a quick read of the questions so you know what to expect, okay? So I will actually be working on another document. It will be exactly the same questions as the mock paper, but I'm going to be working on a document that I can actually type up. But this is just to show you what it looks like. So you have the questions first. Question 1. 2 has a short extract provided for you. Question 3 also has an extract provided for you from the main extract. And then you have question 4, okay? And question 4 is the longest question worth 15 marks. That's a whole extract question. And then, so the questions are there, and then the extract will be separate. I'm just scrolling down. This is where the extract will be, okay? So we've just looked at section A questions 1 to 4, and that's what we're focusing on today. So I've put everything from there onto this document so that I can type it up and you can follow along. So I will be talking you through my thinking process in response to these questions. And that's really important because sometimes we miss that part. And even when we do example paragraphs in class, sometimes it just feels like, oh, it's coming so easy. Or if I just display one that I've already written, you don't understand the thinking process. And that's a really, really big and important part. So you know how to think the paper through for yourself as well. So we are going to get started by, as I said, looking at the questions so we know what we're looking out for as we are reading. So question 1 reads from line 1 to 4. That's really important. So I'm going to highlight that. Identify a word. Okay, it's just going to be one word that shows that the man is holding, what the man is holding in his hand. Okay, this is worth 1 mark. Then the question 2. It instructs us to read this extract. So when we get there, we will read that extract, which, as I said, is taken off the main extract. So it's actually rereading that specific section. And this asks us, from the extract, give 2 things that the reader learns about the appearance of the man. Okay, so that's going to be the focus, the appearance of the man. So I'm going to highlight that as well. And then it says you can use your own words or quotations. Okay, this is worth 2 marks. The next question is question 3. Again, we have to read the extracts that's provided. And then we will have to answer the question, how does the writer use language and structure? That's really important to know, and it's important to know the difference between the two, to describe the man's journey and what happens. So it's the man's journey, going to highlight that, and what happens, okay, when he puts down his bundle. So those are the 2 elements that we need to focus on, okay? And this is worth 6 marks. And then finally, we have question 4. And it says, in this extract, there is an attempt to create sympathy for the man and the little girl, okay? So we've got sympathy for the man and for the little girl as well. This question is asking us to evaluate, okay? That's important to understand. So I'm going to highlight the word evaluate. That's the skill that's going to be assessed for this question. And how many marks is this question worth? I didn't write it down here, but it's worth 15 marks, okay? So I'm just going to put 15 in brackets there and highlight that as well, okay? Now, the rule for how many minutes you should spend on each question is basically you double the marks, and that tells you how many minutes you have to spend on it, okay? So because this is worth 15 marks, you should spend 30 minutes on it, okay? Question 6 is worth 6 marks, so spend maximum 12 minutes. Question 2 is only worth 2 marks, so you spend 4 minutes. And then question 1 is worth 1 mark, so you can spend 2 minutes on that one, okay? That's because this section A, you have an hour to complete it, and there are 24 marks available for that. So that leaves us about 10 minutes to spend reading the extract, and that's what we're going to do now. Now that we've got an understanding of what's expected in the questions, we can use that to inform our reading. So at the start of the extract, you are always given a bit of context. You never quote from this, but you can use it. You can never quote from this, but you will use it to inform your understanding of the extract. So we are going to read it and take note of the important things, okay? I'm going to highlight it in a different color, just to emphasize the fact that you never ever quote from this. In this extract, a man is walking across the Utah Salt Flats, okay? And this is a desert area, okay? In America, he has no food or water, so we can understand what kind of state he's going to be in. And without these, it seems there is little hope for survival, okay? And I will re-emphasize, this is important to understand, so you understand what's going on in the text, but you never ever quote from it. A Study in Scarlet, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. His face was lean and haggard. The brown and parchment-like skin was drawn tightly over the projecting bones. His long brown hair and beard were all flecked and dashed with white. His eyes were sunken in his head and burned with an unnatural luster. And this word has an asterisk on it, meaning there is a definition of the word. So the words that you might anticipate you don't know the definition of, you are given that. So here, lust is a gentle sheen or soft glow, okay? The other words are gaunt and decrepit. Gaunt meaning excessively thin, angular and bony, and then decrepit is worn out or ruined, okay? And obviously, as you read, you can always look back to double check that. So it's got unnatural luster, while the hand which grasped his rifle was hardly more fleshly than that of a skeleton. Now, because I copied and pasted this, the lines are not there. But if we go back to the text, just so you can see, okay, the first paragraph, those are lines 1 to 4, okay? And because we've already looked through the questions, we know that question 1 is asking for what the man is holding in his hand, and that question has to come from lines 1 to 4, meaning that first paragraph. So now that we've read that first paragraph, I'm going to highlight that answer. The answer is here. It's a rifle, okay? So when we come to answer the questions, the answer is already there. That's why it's important to, read the questions before, because you can already start to answer them as you read. So now we move on to the next paragraph. As he stood, he leaned upon his weapon for support, okay? So because we understand this man's situation, and I'm even thinking about question 4 now, and question 4 is about creating sympathy for the man, the fact that he's leaning on his weapon for support, and yet his tall figure and the massive framework of his bones suggested a wiry and vigorous constitution. His gaunt face, however, and his clothes, which hung so baggily over his shriveled limbs, proclaimed what it was that gave him that senile and decrepit appearance. The man was dying from hunger and thirst. He had journeyed painfully down the ravine and onto this little elevation in the vain hope of seeing some signs of water. Now the great salt plain stretched before his eyes, and the distant belt of savage mountains, without a sign anywhere of plant or tree which might indicate the presence of moisture. In all that broad landscape there was no gleam of hope. North and east and west he looked with wild, questioning eyes, and then he realized his wanderings had come to an end, and that there, on that barren crag, he was about to die. Why not here, as well as his feather bed 20 years hence, he muttered, as he seated himself in the shelter of a boulder. Now, I've read 3 paragraphs so far. I've highlighted just a few things. Obviously, when I'm annotating, you're going to have to annotate more. But in the first reading, it is mainly about getting your head around what's going on. Okay, so far we've got these descriptions of this man. He's clearly in a terrible state, near death. Okay, and we've read so far about his painful journey, and that third paragraph really focuses on the landscape and the effect that it's having on him. Okay, and then we carry on. Before sitting down, he had deposited upon the ground his useless rifle, and also a large bundle tied up in a grey shawl, which he had carried slung over his right shoulder. It appeared to be somewhat too heavy for his strength, for in lowering it, it came down on the ground with some little violence. Instantly, there broke from the grey parcel a little moaning cry, and from it there protruded a small, scared face with very bright brown eyes and 2 speckled, dimpled fists. "You've hurt me," said a childish voice reproachfully. "Have I, though?" the man answered. "I didn't mean to do it." As he spoke, he unwrapped the grey shawl and extricated a pretty little girl of about 5 years of age, whose dainty shoes and smart pink frock with its little linen apron all bespoke a mother's care. The child was pale and wan, but her healthy arms and legs showed that she had suffered less than her companion. "How is it now?" he answered anxiously, for she was still rubbing the golden curls which covered the back of her head. "Kiss it to make it well," she said, with perfect gravity, shoving the injured part up to him. "That's what mother used to do. Where's mother?" Now again here, so far, this girl is coming across as very confident, nearly carefree considering the gravity of the situation. But because again, I know that question 4 is going to be about sympathy, this question here, it's creating that sense of sympathy, as well as many other things. Again, this is the first reading. "Mother's gone, I guess you'll see her. Mother's gone. I guess you'll see her before long." Now, this here also is quite striking. I guess you'll see her before long. He is hinting that they will die soon. Okay, he's suggesting that the mother's dead and hinting that she will also see her soon because they will be dead. So that's interesting as well. Gane, said the little girl. Funny, she didn't say goodbye. She most always did if she was just going over to Auntie's for tea, and now she's been away 3 days. Say it's awful dry, ain't it? Ain't there no water? No nothing to eat? No, there ain't nothing, dearie. You just need to be patient a while and then you'll be all right. Put your head up against me like that and then you'll feel better. It ain't easy to talk when your lips is like leather, but I guess I'd best let you know how the cards lie. The man's eyes were fixed upon the northern horizon. In the blue vault of the heaven there had appeared 3 little specks, which increased in size every moment, so rapidly did they approach. They speedily resolved themselves into 3 large brown birds, which circled over the heads of the 2 wanderers and then settled upon some rocks which overlooked them. They were buzzards, the vultures of the west, whose coming is the forerunner of death. And again, thinking about forward to that big question, this ending is very foreboding. We've got the vultures circling, and we've got this explicit not acknowledgement in the text that they are forerunners of death. Okay, so when it comes to creating sympathy, there certainly is a huge amount of sympathy for them at that point in the text. So now that we have read the text once through, we have a general understanding of what's going on. I will start to answer the question. I haven't used the full 10 minutes of reading yet. I will use the rest of that time when I'm actually looking at each question and having to annotate for each question. Okay, so now I'm ready to actually start answering the questions. And again, the extra reading time will come into the annotations as we focus on each question individually. So question 1, we've already, as I said, answered that. Okay, we identified the word that shows what the man is holding is rifle. So I'm going to write the answer in. Question 1 is done. Okay. Question 2 asks us to read this extract. So again, when I'm talking about the extra reading time, here is where it comes into it as well. And we need to give 2 things, okay, that the reader learns about the appearance of the man. Okay. So we can see his gaunt face. Okay. That's one thing. We also learn that he is tall. Okay, he's a tall figure. This question, like I said, is worth 2 marks, so you don't want to spend too much time on it. Okay, and the answers are right there, so I'm going to simply type those in. Okay, so gaunt and tall. Okay, and there we go. That's question 2 done. Now, question 3. The skills that we have to demonstrate for question 3 are how does the writer use language and structure to describe the man's journey and what happens when he puts down his bundle. So now I'm going to spend more time on this, okay, but no more than 12 minutes. And I'm looking for language and structure techniques. I am going to reread this in detail and I will be annotating, okay. He had journeyed painfully down the ravine. Okay, so here we go. Already we have this word, this adverb, okay, painfully, tells us something about the man's journey, okay, and painful, okay, and on to this little elevation in the vain hope of seeing some signs of water. So this is also interesting, okay? We have a sense of hopelessness, okay? Futility, okay? And vain hope is a noun phrase, okay? And that's also language technique, okay? So we've got some language technique so far. Now, the great salt plain stretched before his eyes, and the distant belt of savage mountains without a sign anywhere of plant or tree. Okay, now here I'm getting a sense, when we're thinking about his journey again, a sense of the challenge, the great challenge that this creates. Okay, so that phrase there, and there's some keywords, the fact it's a great salt plain, and the fact that it's stretching. Okay, so we've got words that create a sense of grandeur. Okay, so an overwhelming, okay, sense of the an overwhelming sense of the size of the journey. I think size, I might need to change that word, but that's the idea that I've got. So I'm writing it down for now. And the keywords that do that, the adjective great, okay, adjective great, as well as the verb stretched, okay. Those words are creating that sense of grandeur, okay. So size / grandeur, okay. And the distant belt of savage mountains. Savage mountains, that's a striking metaphor, okay. Okay. Without a sign anywhere of plant or tree, which might indicate the presence of moisture. In all that broad landscape, there was no gleam of hope. So again, that sense of hopelessness, okay, is there again. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that. And again, I'm going to say hopelessness. Yeah. Okay. North and east and west, he looked with wild, questioning eyes. And then he realized that his wanderings had come to an end, and that there on that barren crag, he was about to die. Why not here, as well as in a feather bed 20 years hence, he muttered, as he seated himself in the shelter of a boulder. Before sitting down, he had deposited upon the ground his useless rifle and also a large bundle tied up in a grey shawl, which he had slung over his right shoulder. It appeared to be somewhat too heavy for his strength, for in lowering it, it came down on the ground with some little violence. Instantly, there broke from the grey parcel a little moaning cry, and from there protruded a small, scared face with very bright brown eyes and two little speckled, dimpled fists. "You've hurt me," said a childish voice reproachfully. So here, the ending is a surprising one, okay? So that's my first structure point that I'm putting down for now, okay? The fact that this girl is there, okay? This is a surprising ending to this part of the extract. And that's a structure point that we're going to put. It's unexpected, okay? So this here is surprising. Okay, you can say a surprising plot twist. Okay, now looking back and thinking about how this text developed, so we've got that opening with that, sense of hopelessness, and we've definitely got the sense that he's giving up here, okay, because he's stopped. And in the middle there, he says, okay, why not here as well as in a feather bed 20 years hence? Okay, so this is an interesting contemplation. Okay. He muttered as he seated himself. Okay, what happens when he puts down? So we've got some elements about the journey. Now, what happens when he puts down his bundle? That's another area that we need to focus on. We've got a lot of language points, but this is language and structure. Okay, the dialogue, okay, is an interesting point here that adds, again, it adds to the surprise in this part of the text. Okay, dialogue. We've got within that dialogue an exclamatory sentence. Okay, and that's structure technique. So I'm going to comment on that one. Dialogue exclamatory sentence, and this creates, again, it adds to the element of surprise. Okay. Now, the childish voice reproachfully, there is a sense of juxtaposition there, okay? Because the word childish and reproachfully, a reproach is something, it's like a rebuke, something that an adult might do towards a child, okay? So the juxtaposition here, okay, of childish and reproachfully, okay, creates a comical effect, okay? It's comical. And it lightens the tone of the text. It lightens the tone of the text. And the change in tone there is also a structure technique, okay? So we've got plenty for language. For structure, we've got the surprising plot twist, we've got the exclamatory sentence, we've got the shift or change in tone. So we've got a good few things that we can talk about. So we're going to start writing, okay? We're going to start writing our answer. So if we talk about the way it opens, develops, and ends, thinking about the order of events and the effect that they have is structural analysis. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to embed. I'm not going to think about it separately and say one language paragraph, one structure paragraph. I'm going to embed those skills within my analysis, and that is a very good way of indicating a higher level response to the examiner. Okay, so my first point, I'm going to just start from the beginning of the text and work my way down. Okay, so let's start. So here we go. The text opens with, so I'm going to focus here on the how painful the journey was, and also the sense of hopelessness. Okay, I don't want to be repetitive and say painful, so I'm going to maybe say something else like difficulty, challenging. Okay. Okay, so the text opens with insight, okay, regarding, so the words of the question are to do with the man's journey, okay, regarding the difficulty, okay, of the man's journey, okay, so difficulty, I'm already starting to answer that question, okay, as he journeyed, embed my quotation, making it a part of my sentence, painfully, as he journeyed painfully, okay? As he journeyed painfully. Text opens with insight regarding the difficulty, okay, so there we go. The adverb, painfully, okay, highlights how challenging the journey has been so far, okay, creating sympathy for the protagonist, okay. This is, so now I'm going to transition to talking about this idea of hopelessness and futility. So the noun phrase vain hope does that, no gleam of hope does that, and also his rifle is described as useless, okay? So this language relating to hopelessness and futility, again, compounds to create that overwhelming sense of hopelessness within the text, okay? And inevitability of death as well, okay? So this is compounded, okay, by the sense of the inevitability of death, okay, on this man's journey, okay, through a, I'm going to say semantic field, okay, field of hopelessness, okay, because we have the description of the vain hope, okay, so the word vain relates to that sense of, again, hopelessness and futility. So I'm going to say semantic field of hopelessness. I'm going to add futility to that, okay? Futility as, so I'm going to embed my quotes again. It says as his pursuit of water was done in vain hope, embedding my quotation, vain hope. Later there was no gleam of hope. Later there was no gleam of hope. And finally, his rifle is described as useless. Okay, his rifle is described as useless. Okay, so now I've made my point about semantic field. I've given my evidence. I'm now going to zoom in on a few of those words. Okay, the adjective vain highlights that the pessimistic outlook regarding this journey, okay, regarding the man's journey, to use the words of the question. That might be a bit of a tricky sentence, but this is how it is when you're writing under pressure. Okay, the adjective vain highlights the pessimistic outlook regarding the man's journey. I might tweak that, but I'm going to continue, okay? And also the lack of hope, okay? The adjective vain highlights the pessimistic outlook regarding the man's journey. I can't think of anything more to say to that, so I'm going to move on and maybe build on it with the fact that there was no gleam of hope, and also the life was described as useless. Okay, I'm going to leave that there for now because we need to write about structure and we need to also highlight the other part of that question. What happens when he puts down his bundle? Okay, so there is a shift. So now we're talking about structure, so we're going to talk about that shift, okay? There is a, I would say, drastic shift, okay, in tone when the man puts down his bundle, okay, and is, so let's see if I can embed some little moaning cry, okay, and here's a little moaning cry, okay. This is a surprising turn of events. This is a surprising turn of events, okay, which introduces a small sense of hope in the text, okay. The dialogue okay, also creates that, like I said, the comical effect and adds to the surprise. Okay, a small sense of hope, I meant to say. Okay, the dialogue here also adds to the surprise because the young girl is very confident, okay, as she, okay, confident as she laments, okay, you've hurt me, okay. So the exclamatory sentence highlights a lack of fear, okay, which we might expect, okay, from a young girl in such a dire situation, okay, talking to a strange man. Finally, here we're going to talk about this childish voice, okay. Finally, the extract takes a comical turn, okay, due to the way the child's way of speaking is described, okay, as, okay, her tone is reproachful, so her tone is childish, okay. Again, I'm embedding my quotes throughout. Her tone is childish, okay, which is juxtaposed by her reproachfully rebuking, okay, the man. So again, this is also unexpected, okay, and adds a comical tone which lightens the heavy, and obviously so far in the opening of the text it was quite it was dire really and pessimistic, okay, which lightens the heavy and pessimistic, okay, opening of the extract. And that would be my answer to question 3. Okay, I would stop there because we've got 3 paragraphs. We've talked about language, we've talked about structure, and I would move on. So that's it today for today, and then in the next one we will be focusing on how to answer question 4 using the very same extract. So I'll see you then.